the note, we're going to start on slide 1-7. I think I even showed you 1-7 last time, but I hurried through it real fast. I want to hit it again because these are the 7 traits that Gregory Mendel actually did work with. He had thousands. Of course, one pea plant will give you like 1,000 seeds. You don't need 1,000 plants for that. Now, he examined the shape of the seed, the color of the seed, and then the flower color itself and the shape of the pod that the seed grew in and the color of the pod. He also looked at how the flowers were arranged. Some flowers went up and down the stem, and some just tacked on the end of the stem. He called this axial for up and down, and he called that terminal for the end. And some plants were like 6 feet tall, and one was like a foot tall. You can tell that's a big old plant there, buddy. Of course, the taller plant can produce more stuff than a short plant. So I want tall plants if I want to grow some. I want to have a lot of peas coming up. But this column, whenever you crossed a plant with this shape of seed and that shape of seed, it always got these seeds. This shape was masked. Whenever you crossed a plant with yellow seeds with one with green seeds, you always got the yellow. You never got the green anymore. And the purple always matched the white, and the fat pods always dominated the constricted pod where you see the peas inside them. And then the green pod color always was dominant over the yellow pod color. And the flowers up and down the stem always won out over this one. And the tall plants were always dominant over the short ones. So that's what we mean by his 7 traits. What he actually did was what I would never had patience for. He took these male parts and took a little brush. He took pollen from this flower and put it on this flower. That's how he crossed his flowers. And he took pollen from this flower and put it on that flower. And they will even cross-pollinate themselves. So this part is called the pistil with an I, not an O. It's not like a gun. The gun's a OL pistil. This pistil is the female. And right in here, if this pollen lands on, this is called the stigma. If it lands on there, a pollen tube grows down. And this is the male gamete, the pollen, and it will fertilize the female gamete. These flowers fall off, these fall off, and this grows into an apple, or grows into a plum, or to a pear, right there. Now, if it freezes and you destroy your flower, then you destroyed your fruit. You won't have fruit that tree. So if you have apple trees and the flowers freeze and fall off, then that season you have no apples. If you sell apples to pay for your house, you got a problem. So what the Florida farmers do, they've learned that water that's flowing does not freeze. So if they have a cold night expected like tonight, they say, well, temperature is going to be maybe down in the 30s. Well, that could kill some of their peach flowers, and that would kill their peaches. So what they do, the sprinklers you see sprinkle people's yards, they sprinkle their crops, but they ain't water their crops. They want the water running all night long, so it won't freeze. As long as the water runs, it won't freeze. But when the water stops, I know from my mom and dad said, a hunting cabin, turn the faucet on, let the water drip. That pipe won't freeze because the water keeps moving and it never gets still long enough to frost. Because when water freezes, it expands a little bit. And that's what cracks the pipe. And you won't even see it till, when the water freezes, of course you turn the water on and nothing comes out, it's frozen. And the water thaws, you hear behind the wall. And you'll find out that the pipe is leaking and you got to take off the sheetrock and things like that. When my wife and I first got married, We lived on the river in a little trailer. And one night I had 13 frozen pipes. And the next morning I got real good at taking, flux and heating them and fixing my own. I didn't call it plumber. And one night it got so cold in our house that the water in our commode froze. That's cold. In the same house, my wife learned how to be a hunter in our house. Because we were laying in bed one night and we had some potato chips on the table surface. And we thought we heard the bag rattling. It's just me and the wife, there's no kid. I go, what's that? She goes, what is that? I said, and the bag rattling. So I got up and heard us run off. I said, something big. So the next night we hid behind the couch. And we just looked. And in came a rat and stepped up onto the seat. He didn't jump, he stepped up. That's a big old rat. That's a wharf rat. And I said, get out of here. He took off toward the commode. And there's a hole right there. That's how he got in the house. He was coming in for warmth or whatever. So the next night, the wife and I, we set up with 22 rifles with rat shot in them. We're going to shoot that sucker. He didn't come back. We planned to shoot him. Not a solid bullet, but a rat shot would kill him. So I bought me a big old rat trap. But he didn't come back for a few nights. So I ain't going to keep him away every night for him. I bought this huge rat trap that would break your leg. And I put it out there on my table. And that night, we're just, bam, and got him! He and my trap both were gone. He took that trap with him. I think he killed him. I never saw him again. I went outside there and I fixed that little hole. But my wife got real good at shooting because one day she was fishing down there. And I was at school, I came home and she goes, come and see my bass. I caught a big old bass. She don't touch fish. I said, did you get him off? Yeah, I got him off. And I went down there and she pulled up this leader. And all that's left of the bass are the gills. Turtles ate her bass. I said, well, he was big. I'm not mad. So the next day I was doing some cutting the grass and the lawnmower stopped and as the lawnmower down, I heard just pow, pow, a shooting gun down there. And she's on our porch, shooting down toward the water, shooting turtles off a log, one after another, because she declared war on turtles. And she had a good time shooting them. And now we go, and she can shoot really well. And she loves the 22. She loves the 22. It don't kick. And one day I had my 44 Magnum out there, my big gun. She goes, I want to shoot it. She only weighed 95 pounds. I said, honey, you don't want to shoot that big gun. I want to shoot the big gun. So she goes, no. She was aiming like she knew 22, you can do that with 22. I said, I don't want to scare her. And she pulled that trigger and bust her head wide open. And I said, honey, did you see me shoot that thing? And it knocked me back, and you're going to do like this? Man, I still think about it, and I still tremble this day. That 44 mag would have busted her head wide open. My 45 don't kick hard at 44 does. I wouldn't do a 45 that way either.
A friend of mine was shooting my 30-06.
Oh no.
And he didn't know he was all up in the scope.
Yeah, right there.
Like right there.
You got that cut right there?
His forehead right there.
Oh yeah.
Bam!
Yeah. Oh yeah. Folks learn the hard way. You want an eye relief right there. But I happened to see her just in time before she pulled the trigger. She was aiming. And that hammer probably would have hit her right in the eye. Probably would have took her eye out. So I really, she finally shot it. And it jarred her so bad she didn't know what she was doing. She loves her 22. And so, she can shoot 22 real good. She loaded, take care of the house, and have you by yourself now. Know your gun is, so I don't want you hurt by some assailant and breaks in here. Okay. I'm going to work through one of his crosses he did to show you just, how this works and throw some names at you, some terms that you can understand. The purple versus the white flowers is you can see the differences right away. what he did, he took some pollen from purple flowers and put it on white flowers, and vice versa. Those flowers grew in seeds. He planted those seeds, and they grew up into plants. Those plants produced flowers, and every single flower was purple. And he goes, "Where'd the white go? I thought there'd be some white was there somewhere." No whites at all. The first generation is called the F1. It's called filial. So if you think about my parents, I'm the F1, and my sons are the F2. If you talk about me, my sons are the F1. You follow me? So if you do this, my grandparents, well, my grandparents are the parents. Okay? And then my mama and daddy would be F1. I would be, and my kids would be. It all depends on how you're looking at it. So the first two you cross, those are the parents, and they have offspring. If you let those cross, you have the next offspring. But the F1 generation, the first filial, he got all purple, and he frankly was amazed. He figured, I guess I'm white somewhere. I mean, where did white go? And it didn't matter which way he crossed them either. He thought, well, if I put white on purple, that'd be purple. Purple on white, that'd be white. That didn't work either. They're always purple, every time. And he didn't have a lot in science, but he was a curious man. So then he said, well, he kind of got disgusted, and he let these things cross-pollinate. He kind of forgot about it. Well, these began to cross-pollinate. You know, the pollen from this one would fertilize that one, and vice versa. So he let these cross-pollinate, and when they now we call that self-pollination. In other words, this flower can fertilize his own self. When you have an apple tree in your yard, you need two of them, because apples do not self-pollinate. Plums do. You have one plum tree, it'll bust out plums every year. It takes two apple trees to make apples. If you have one apple tree, there's another one somewhere that's also making pollen. And you helping him, and he's helping you. But now, when these crossed, then that's what came out. The white ones came back. But now, the F2 had 9 purple and 3 white. Now, what ratio is that?
1 to 3.
Yeah, 9 to 3 actually becomes what?
1 to 3.
1 to 3. 3 to 1.
3 to 1.
3 to 1. I always say the big number first. So for every 3 purples, he got a white. Now, if he had 1,000 flowers, and it's 3 to 1, how many white flowers would you expect to have? 50?
333 point.
More than that. That's 3 to 1 means in 4 flowers, 3 are purple. I got 1,000 flowers. How many would be purple at 3 to 1 ratio? I'm not saying 1/3. I'm saying 3 to 1.
Okay.
Divide 1,000 4 times. What do you get?
250.
250. That makes what, 750?
Mm-hmm.
And that makes the last. So if you had 1,000 flowers, you expect around 750 of them to be purple. It might be 751. It never were perfect numbers, but he always got the ratios that showed him, and he had so many he did that the ratio counted. He had like 4,000 flowers, and 388 were purple, and the other 1,000 something. He saw the ratio and began to go. So then the question was, and this is where I know he's smarter than me. I would never have thought of this. I know it now, but I wouldn't, because somebody told me this, but no one told him this. He figured that every trait, like the color of the flower, how tall the plant was, The seeds were, he said every trait was governed by pair genes. Pair genes. And he called those alleles. So there's an allele for purple, allele for white. And then he said, I'll bet you that a purple allele always can mask the other allele. So he said, I'll call the purple one dominant. And I'll call the other one recessive. Because it recesses, it backs off. It backs off. So that when you cross a pure breeding purple with a pure breeding white, the purple can totally match the color. You get all purple flowers. Somewhere in the purple flowers, there's still the allele for the white trait. It's being covered up though. So even though he's purple, he still has the trait inside of him. So what he did, he says, his idea, whatever the dominant trait is, use that letter for the trait. Don't use W for white, use a small p. So if the dominant trait is purple, they said, let's let a capital P be purple and a small p be the other way. Other way happening with what? The other way is what? Is white. Now don't use a P and a W. You're using P's. Why P? Because purple is dominant. If white had been dominant, he'd use a W with a small w. And what people try to do, they try to use a P and a W and say, well, here's P and W, P is dominant. No, don't do that. You use the same letter, but you got a capital versus a lowercase. The lowercase is always the recessive form. It's never going to be purple, is it though? It's going to be some of the condition. So if dominant is yellow, what color would you use for the trait?
Yellow.
Dominant, use what? A capital Y.
Big Y.
Big Y. Now, whatever the other trait was, what would you use for him?
Little Y.
The small y. Don't use the trait itself. Use the small y. Then you got to understand what small y stands for. Because small y, the big Y tells you what he stands for. The small y, you got to know what the other condition is. So here's what he figured. The two alleles in this sucker here is always two p's. And this one is always two small p's. And I put a line under them because sometimes a p by itself, you can't tell is it big or small by himself, can you? The line under him tells me that he's small. So when you write the lowercase p, put a line under it so I know which one you're trying to tell me. Here's what we find out. The alleles P and P, big P, small p, always in pair. They can be this pair, or this pair. If you got at least one big P, guess what color you are? You're purple. Because P is boss. To be white, what must you not have? The big P. You can't, if you got even one big P, you're purple. Now, this plant is just as purple as that plant. He's not lighter shade. He is just as pretty dark purple. You cannot tell by looking which one is homozygous and which one is heterozygous. So the word homo means same. Zygous means like the zygote. So if you have the same genes, this is homozygous, but that is too. But this is homozygous dominant, and that's homozygous recessive. This is heterozygous. Now why would you not say heterozygous dominant? On this one, on these two, why must you say homozygous dominant? Why could you not say homozygous? Are there not two conditions? If you have two big P's, are you homozygous? If you have two small P's, are you homozygous? Well, how do you tell the difference then? You say the other word. You say this thing is homozygous, dominant, and I know you got two big P's. homozygous recessive. I know he's got 2 small p's. Why do you say heterozygous dominant? Heterozygous is dominant. So don't say dominant. Just say heterozygous. And then I would know there's 1 each. I mean, you wouldn't say heterozygous recessive, would you? Because the word by itself is enough to tell me, big and small. But if you just said to me homozygous, I'm be asking you, which one? Which one? You go, oh, homozygous, big letter. Don't say big letter, say dominant. Homozygous, small letter. Don't say that, say recessive. And these words are his. Now, these letters give you the type of genes. We call that genotype. Now, purple and white, those are the physical, and that's the phenotype. So pheno means how it looks. Is he tall? Is he wrinkled? Is he yellow? Is he white? Is he green? That's phenotype. The genotype is asking you, what kind of letters, what kind of genes are in there? Is it 2 big P's? 2 small P's? Is it 1 each? That's genotype. Now I can tell you, if these alleles, and there's alleles, if they're the same, like this condition, they're homozygous. But if they're opposite, they're heterozygous. But even then, if I give you 2 capital T's and say describe that, and you say homozygous and stop, you missed it. Well, what must you also say if you see 2 big T's? Homozygous,
Dominant.
dominant. If I give you 2 small T's, what must you say as a descriptor? Homozygous, recessive. If I say big T, small t, one word does it. Heterozygous. I know he's dominant because I know that's the nature of heterozygous. Okay? And this is going to take me to, let me see, I'm looking ahead. No, I'm stopping. I'm not doing that yet. Because that's going to lead me into more slides. So I'm saying that slide 113 is my stopping point, and slide 114 is the starting point next time. I have these things graded as soon as I can and put on Angel for you.